If you know anything about racehorses at all, half of them probably would be at Claiborne, and it is a tremendous, I guess it's the biggest employer maybe in the county. And they're very nice. They have a schedule that you have to follow. You know, there are times when you can be taken through and there are times when you can't. But that's the way most of the racehorse farms are now. They have to have times when you can't go in, you know.
We've seen some very scenic roads with many, many horse farms, gorgeous farms.
There's some lovely farms around here, and Bourbon really has some of the oldest, like log houses. Half of them are falling in, but they're very fascinating. Over there is Duncan Tavern, which is another one of our famous sites, I suppose you would say. It was built about 1788, I think, by Major Duncan, whom I think came here after the Revolution, and then it was a tavern and a boarding house, and then became rather decrepit. And in the 40s, in the 1940s, the DARs, the Daughters of the Revolution, took it over and renovated it, and now it's really an exquisite place with gorgeous furniture in keeping with the period and all kinds of goodies, you know. And people do like to go there and visit it. And then, of course, there's Cane Ridge Church. That was the beginning of the Christian church, the sect. Now it's the Disciples of Christ. And it's out in Bourbon, an old log structure that's covered over now, but it brings in thousands of people, really. Anyone who belongs to the Christian church, it's kind of a mecca that they come and see where it was founded, really, you know. So we don't have a lot of famous things in Bourbon, but it's a lovely county, and really there's so many old homes here, some in disrepair, falling down, but there are other lovely homes that maybe have been in the family for generations and generations. Well, this is a publication of a survey by the Kentucky Heritage Council, and our historic society here in Bourbon, it's called Historic Parish, Bourbon County. And we had it published, and it has all the old houses in the county, and it's really quite an outstanding book, and we're very proud of it. And I think it's, of all of the published surveys, this is the best one.
That one of the proudest times of my life was when I lived here in Bourbon County in Paris with my Uncle Bill and Aunt Erminy. Bless their dear souls, they're gone now. We're lost in an automobile accident. But I know the Binghams love this area. They weren't born and raised here, but they moved here out of choice. And living here and in Fayette County and in central Kentucky was one of the proudest and most enjoyable times of my life. And I was glad to be a part of your community.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you for saying
and
that.
And I appreciate you staying out here in the cold.
Oh, we are free.
Danville, the county seat of Boyle County. Boyle County population, 25,357. Area square miles, 182. Rank, 111. Boyle County is located in the 6th Congressional District.
We're in Danville, Kentucky, which is the county seat for Boyle County. We're standing across the street from the Boyle County Courthouse. To my right, we have gentleman, Dr. Richard Brown, who has graciously volunteered to provide us with information about the county. Dr. Brown, one of the questions we wanted to ask was, when was the county formed, and was it formed from any other counties?
Yes, Boyle County was organized in 1842, and it was made up of parts of Mercer County to the north here and Lincoln County to the south, two of the oldest counties in Kentucky, but Boyle really is one of the newer counties, even though it was organized in 1842. It's also one of the smallest counties in Kentucky. There are only 9 counties in Kentucky that are actually smaller than Boyle. So when they organized it, they took parts of county to make one little county out of 2 much bigger counties, June.
Okay. Boyle County. Who is that name? Why is the name Boyle County?
Boyle County is named for Judge John Boyle, who was a leading judge and jurist in early 19th century Kentucky. He owned some land here in Boyle County, and for that reason they named it for him.
Okay. What can you tell us about the courthouse? How old is this courthouse, and were there other courthouses that existed?
Oh yes, June. Actually, this is the 3rd courthouse in Boyle County. The first courthouse was 2 blocks to the east here, down on Constitutional Square, where the first Constitution of Kentucky was written. Then there was another courthouse built at the time Boyle became a county in 1842, and that one burned in a very disastrous fire that burned almost 1/3 of Danville on Washington's birthday, 1860. It also burned all but the walls of this Episcopal church, which we're standing in front of here. The new, what really is over 100 years old, but we call it the new courthouse. The new courthouse began to be built right after the disastrous fire in 1860. But then after the Battle of Perryville, which took place about 10 miles west of here, the Civil War Battle of Perryville, most of the public buildings around here were used as hospitals for sick and wounded soldiers of both sides. And for that reason, the county officials couldn't get back in the courthouse until the Civil War was almost over, really. It was occupied by hospital personnel and the sick and wounded.
Okay. We're trying to promote tourism in each county. What would you say are some points of interest here in the county?
Well, one of the points of interest I've already mentioned, of course, is Constitution Square State Shrine, a state park, which is 2 blocks to the east of us here. And this has 5 reconstructed buildings, which are related to the very early history of Kentucky. One of the buildings is a replica of the building in which the conventions met that eventually drew up the first Constitution for the state of Kentucky in 1792. And across the street from Constitution Park is Ephraim McDowell House, where Dr. Ephraim McDowell performed abdominal surgery on a Mrs. Crawford, and became a pioneer in that type of surgery. So both those are right in the center of town. In addition to that, I mentioned the Battle of Perryville. It's in Boyle County, or that site is in Boyle County. It's to the west of us here, just outside the old town of Perryville. Many people come there to see that. As a matter of fact, they have a recreation of the battlefield of the battle every October, and this year is sort of an anniversary, the 25th or 125th anniversary of the Battle of Perryville. So they're anticipating a much larger crowd even than usual at this recreation. Danville has many fine old houses which are very attractive to people. People just like to drive up and down Maple Avenue, and some of the areas of town are historic districts on the National Heritage Foundation sites. So Danville has a great many. It's a pleasant town. It's a nice place to visit. Center College, which is an old liberal arts college, established first of all by the Presbyterian Church, but now obviously open to any denomination. Very well known throughout Kentucky, indeed throughout the whole United States. This is also the home of the Kentucky School for the Deaf, which was the first state-supported institution for people with handicaps, hearing handicaps in this case. Danville was quite an educational center, still is. There were a number of girls' schools here, started here. Kentucky eventually became the Kentucky School for Women, is now part of Center College. There was a theological institute here, founded in 1853. So Danville has a long history and a good reputation as a home of educational institutions.
Okay. We understand that you're not a native per se from Kentucky. Where did you originally come from, and what did you do?
Well, actually, I was born in a little town in southeastern Ohio, so I'm familiar with Kentucky over in the Appalachian part of Ohio. But I spent most of my adult life and most of my teaching career in western New York. I taught in the State University of New York College at Buffalo, New York. And they had the great blizzard of 1977 there, in which that part of western New York got 199 inches of snow during that year. And this started us thinking about some place that had a little more congenial climate. We were already familiar with central Kentucky. We'd been down to Lexington and Berea, areas such as that. We liked to go to Keeneland Racetrack in the spring, and so when it came time to move, we started looking around for actually a smaller town close to Lexington. Lexington had grown to be a city of a couple 100,000 people by that time, and we shopped around and did some research and chose Danville because of its medical facilities, its fact that Center College is here, and we haven't been sorry. It's a delightful town, and when friends come to visit us, they pat us on the back for having made a wise choice, and that delights us, of course.
What are the major industries in the county here?
Danville has a number of industries. Tom McCann has a distribution center here. Whirlpool is recently moved most of its engineering staff to Danville. Rexnord is an important industry. Tokyo Rope is an important industry. Donnelly, the big printing firm, recently established a plant here. So those are only 5 or so of the more than 15 or 20 industries that have branch plants or distribution centers. American Greetings Card has a distribution center here. So Danville is well represented by both industries. It's a significant agricultural area. Burley tobacco is grown here. A lot of beef cattle grown here. Farmers here who are plagued by the question of raising tobacco are shifting their agricultural efforts into raising tomatoes, green peppers, bell peppers, and so on. But Danville and Boyle County has a very diversified economy. It doesn't really depend